Hey guys, welcome back to the Laid-Back Homestead. I'm Crystal, and today we are back in the kitchen, and I am going to be making a very popular Mississippi pot roast, as well as a new to me recipe, spicy sweet green beans. So let's get cooking. For this recipe, the Mississippi pot roast, all you need is a roast. It says 3 to 5 pounds. This one is just shy of 4 pounds. A slow cooker, an au jus packet, a ranch seasoning packet, and some pepperoncinis. It calls for a 1/4 cup of butter. I'm only going to use a couple of tablespoons of butter on my roast. Honestly, I feel like you could make this roast without the butter for kind of a healthier option. And it still comes out fine. It's still really delicious, but I will add a little bit of butter. And to this, I'm also going to add in some baby potatoes. I'll be serving this with rice. Sometimes I make it with mashed potatoes, but in this case, I'm going to go ahead and add some potatoes in here to cook down just as a side vegetable. And I'll have some rice to go with this, as well as some sweet and spicy green beans. So I'm just going to add my butter, and then I'm just going to sprinkle on my gravy packet and my ranch packet. Just going to throw in some of these baby potatoes. And last but not least, because I absolutely adore these, are the pepperoncini peppers. Now I think the recipe calls for 4. I'm going to add more than that because I really like these peppers. This is probably one of my favorite parts of the whole dish. They tend to soak up a lot of the gravy and become like these little flavor bombs. So I'm going to go in with a good bit of these just because I like to have them. And that's it. I'm going to cook mine on low for 8 hours. So our roast is cooking away, and I'm about to get started on the green bean recipe for tonight. But I just wanted to take a second to say I like cooking a large meal like this in the beginning of the week. Not only does it provide leftovers if you're having an off weeknight and you just need to get dinner on the table real quick, but it's also really useful for meal prepping or just for utilizing down the road in other recipes during the week. So if that's something you'd be interested in seeing, let me know down below, and I can kind of go more into how we utilize our leftovers from such a big meal early on in the week. All right, we've got our main dish going back there, and now we're going to get started with the spicy and sweet green beans. For this, it calls for 1/2 of an onion. I have 2, I don't know if you can tell, they're really small, so I'm going to just do these 2 little small onions. It calls for 2 pieces of bacon. I think bacon's one of those things you need to measure with your soul, so I may do a little bit more than that. It does call for 2 cans of green beans, but because my family is a little bit on the larger side, I'm just going to throw in an extra can. And this is where it gets interesting. I've never made green beans with chili powder, cinnamon, nutmeg, and brown sugar. So I can't wait to try this. This should be interesting. I'm gonna go ahead and get this onion chopped up and chop up some bacon, and I'll see y'all back in a second. So I have my bacon in a large skillet, and we're gonna go ahead and crisp this up. That is the first step. So now that our bacon is done, it actually calls for us to transfer the bacon out and move to a saucepan. I'm going to just cook everything down in the same skillet. This recipe is very similar in directions to the copycat Cracker Barrel green bean recipe. That's what I normally make. The only difference is the seasonings. So I'm going to cook this in a similar fashion. So to my skillet, I'm going to actually go in with my onions. I'm deviating a little bit from the directions here, but I know that this works. I'm actually going to just cook down my onions for 1/2 second just to absorb all that good flavor. And now I'm going to go in with the green beans. This recipe did call to drain one of the can of green beans and leave the other can with the juice to go into the skillet. So now I'm going to go ahead and add in the seasonings. And this is where it deviates like I said, from the Cracker Barrel. So I'm going to go in first with a half teaspoon roughly of salt, half teaspoon of chili powder, 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. And this is where it gets interesting. A pinch of nutmeg. I'm not sure what a pinch is. We'll go with that. And a dash of cinnamon. Again, all new to me. Hopefully that's a dash. And now I'm just going to stir this together. Make sure my brown sugar and seasonings are incorporated. And I'm going to leave this to simmer. I know when I make my typical smothered green beans, I let them simmer for quite a while. It's going to reduce some of this liquid, but it also helps the flavors to come together. So I am going to simmer this until it's the consistency and the flavor that I like. So these have been simmering now for about 40 minutes. And I really want to just give them a quick little taste test because the seasonings are just so different from what I normally use. I'm really excited to try this. All right, so I was super excited and decided I wanted to taste this before dinner. Wow, that's really good. That's really good. I was super intrigued with the nutmeg and the cinnamon. That's really good. It's been simmering now for about 40 minutes. I'm going to let them go a little bit longer just so my onions are a little softer. But man, that seasoning blend, the nutmeg and the cinnamon, I mean, who knew? That's pretty good. Definitely worth giving a try. All right, it's been a little less than 8 hours, but this is completely fork tender. So it is done. So all that's left to do is to shred this. You can take it out and slice it if that's what you prefer. We're going to shred it. I've got my rice cooker going. So all that's left to do is to serve. So this was a crazy busy karate night for us. So please excuse my film quality here. As you can see, this all came together and was super delicious. Well, guys, dinner was a hit as always. And I just want to thank you all for hanging out with me today. If you have any recipes that you'd like me to try, please comment them down below. And if you're into, cooking content, gardening content, and homesteading content, I encourage you to subscribe to the channel. And as always, until next time, stay blessed.